We have all seen pictures of the great creatures that once roamed the earth millions of years ago, but how do we know what they actually looked like? The answer is through fossils. Fossils are the remains of animals and other organisms that have been preserved in the earth for thousands of years, but they don't just have to be the bones of an animal. They can also be traces of the organism, or nature-made copies of the remains, such as casts or mineral replacements. What do all those really mean, and how do those remains turn into fossils? It turns out the pattern is generally the same. The organism first dies and leaves its remains, which are then covered by layers of sediment or rock. These layers of rock squeeze down on top of each other for thousands of years, turning the remains into fossils. Seismic activity and erosion over many, many years will allow the once buried fossil to make its way back to the Earth's surface for scientists to find. Once the remains are buried in rock, they begin to fossilize. One process through which fossilization occurs is called permineralization, also called petrification. Permineralization is a process where dissolved minerals and water seep into the bones of the organism and form crystals. These crystals harden the remains of the organism over time, turning it into a fossil. Another similar process of fossilization is called replacement. The process for replacement is generally the same as for permineralization, but rather than simply hardening the bone, the dissolved minerals actually replace the bone. Paleoanthropologist Dr. Lee Berger describes it in this way.
Over time, they're impregnated by the minerals that surround them, and as gentle water saturates these wet and humid environments, those minerals can be transported into the calcium phosphate that is the bone, and you get replacement that goes on. Replacement calcium phosphate with calcium carbonate, maybe manganese impregnates there, and eventually you turn a bone into what we would term a fossil. And obviously in that there's huge degrees, from something that's just started to something that's turned into effectively nothing like the original, but a perfect cast of it.
One final form of fossilization is through cast formation. Cast fossils form when mud and dirt around the animal remains form around or within the remains and harden and become sedimentary rock over time. This means that even if the animal remains are completely degraded, we are left with a cast of what the animal fossil looked like.